Hi everybody, my name is Shira Goodman. I'm also running in the lovely 4th District. Thanks Bob for the terrific presentation of the maps. I was with many of you a few weeks ago here on the forum on gun violence. It was an excellent forum. Thanks for having me back. So I'm going to focus a little less than I normally do on the gun policy just because we talked about it so much last time. But this is my first run for office. I'm not a politician. I never thought that this is where I would be. I've been working in public policy for the last 15 years though. For 10 years at Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts, working on better access to courts, equal access to justice, making sure we could pick our judges in a fair way, protecting judicial independence, and for any of you who have been in court, making sure people understand what's happening to them. Because if you're not a lawyer or a judge, going to court is no fun. It's scary, it's intimidating, people don't understand the process, there's a whole different language, and we spend a lot of time preparing citizen guides for criminal and civil court so people would understand what can happen. And that really empowers people to be able to represent themselves and understand what is happening to them. And I'm very proud of that work. And after 10 years doing that, I took over as the head of CeaseFirePA, which is our statewide gun violence prevention organization. So for the last 5.5 years, I have been working for better gun laws, standing up with victims and survivors and mayors and legislators, including MAD, working for better gun laws and stopping some really bad things. And in both of those careers, although I wasn't voting on legislation, I was drafting legislation, I was working with legislators, I was trying to figure out how do we get something on the agenda, how do we get something off the agenda, who do we talk to, building coalitions, working across the aisle, which is not always the most popular thing to say in a Democratic primary, but it's practical. If you want to get something done in Harrisburg or any other state capital or Washington, you can't just talk to your friends. You know, maybe someday we'll just be able to talk to our friends, right? But we're not there, and we need to work, and we've done that. And I've talked to a lot of people who disagree with me, and it's about building relationships, and it's about listening, and it's about finding common ground. So I have this public policy experience. 15 years, and before that 5 years as a lawyer doing labor and employment law, training employees and employers about harassment and discrimination and accommodating people who are living with disabilities and making our workplaces better places to be. Didn't quite solve that problem. Harrisburg and Washington haven't quite gotten the memo that you're not allowed to harass and assault people and then have secret settlements, but I'm happy to keep fighting on that one for all of us. So I have this policy background, this advocacy background, and I think I know what to do about legislation and how to get it moving. I also have an expertise in an issue that you know is really important to people in Montgomery and Berks and all across America, which is gun violence and gun violence prevention. And that's a hot topic right now. And I wanted to step up and see if I could help get something done on that. Somebody asked me earlier today on the phone, what have you done to actually stop the NRA? You've said you've stopped them. We've kept guns out of the hands of public school teachers, which is something that some people in Harrisburg think is a good idea. Not too many of them, not many teachers at all, not many principals, not many students, and not many parents, but we've been able to block that so far. And we'll be able to protect a Governor Wolf veto if somehow they pass it. We've kept guns off of our PASHE campuses. That took 1 hour of testimony, and they have not brought it back up in the last 4 years. And the one bill that the NRA did pass in the last 5.5 years, a terrible bill that some of you may know. It would allow people and organizations to sue towns and cities that pass their own gun laws. They did this in the middle of the night with extra session days. They added it to a bill that had nothing to do with guns. We got that declared unconstitutional. So I have gone up against the gun lobby, which is a formidable opponent, and have found ways to beat them in court, in the legislature, with coalitions together. And I'm ready to keep doing that. So those are 2 reasons I think I'm qualified to represent us in Washington. The third reason is, like I said, I'm not a career politician. I've been a lawyer, I've been an advocate, and I've been a working mom. Running a small nonprofit, I know what it is to get those estimates every year for health care for our employees, and to know that we have a finite budget, and how are we going to do it, and give them decent care without all those hidden costs. And you know what they are, right? Prescriptions go up, the co-pays go up, you try and keep the premiums low, and then the payments for the employees and their kids go up. So I know what that is. And those are things we're all struggling with. All around the county, people are worried about health care. How can we expand it? How can we make sure people have good, accessible, affordable health care? We need to do that. It is a right, not a privilege. I've also been a working mom. You know, I get what it is when your kids are sick. What do? How do you stay home? And I've helped do that with employees. I have a son going off to college. I understand what it is to be afraid of that debt, to be worried, will he get a good job? Will he be saddled with this debt for the rest of his life? Debt that right now you can't deduct on your taxes. It's easier to get a car loan or a mortgage than debt, than college loan and pay it off. So I get that. And I have parents who are retired, who, while they live in a very nice area and are still driving, they have concerns. Can I go to that extra physical rehabilitation appointment now, or should I save it? Because it's getting more expensive. So I see that. I'm living a real life like all of the folks that I've been meeting are living. And I think that that real life experience, coupled with the policy experience and the expertise on this one issue, are preparing me. Now, gun violence to me is not my single issue, but it is a signature issue. And a lot of people are legislators who know a little bit about a lot of things. I also know a little bit about a lot of things, and I'm happy to talk to you about that, but I know a lot about one big thing, and I can be a leader and an expert on that, and then support my colleagues who are the leaders and experts on other things. So I think that we spend a lot of time as a party telling people, come out and vote. Come out and save us from ourselves. We need you. Young voters, new voters, women, people of color. And then when people step up, we say, it's not quite your turn. You didn't do it the right way. You didn't follow the regular path. I think there's more than one path to leadership. And that's why I'm stepping up now. I have 2 sons in high school. I've told them when you're angry and frustrated, you have to step up, not step back. And that's what I'm doing. So I hope that I'll have the opportunity to earn your vote. We'd love if you take a lawn sign. Thanks for that, Bob. If you want to volunteer. And I'm happy to take questions with the rest of my time, Your Honor. That's a legal joke. No questions? Okay. Oh.
The NRA seems to be the most powerful lobby in the United States, and the anti-gun violence groups seem to have many different groups, and Ceasefire is among one of the strongest, but one of several. Is the fact that they're not unified part of the reason why we seem to be losing this battle against gun violence?
It's a great question. We get it all the time. There's one NRA, why isn't there one ceasefire? I don't think that's why it's been so hard. I think, first of all, groups formed at different times. State groups, national groups, groups with different focuses. I can tell you that in the 5 years I've been there, the coordination and collaboration between the different state groups, between the state and the national groups, has grown exponentially. We have shared agendas, we have regular conference calls, the heads of the groups are meeting regularly. I think that the reason the NRA has been so powerful is twofold. One is they have a core. Now it's not that many, it's like 5 million. Let's believe them and say 6 million, right? So maybe 6 million. Every time they talk it's another million. But maybe 6 million. There's a lot more of us. But we vote about a lot of things, right? We care about immigration and healthcare and education and reproductive rights and foreign policy issues. And we may give somebody a pass sometimes because we think they're really good on another core issue. The voters who listen to the NRA do not give anybody a pass. They step out of line and they are done. So they take that form to the polls and they're single issue voters and they are writing and calling their legislators every day. So they have that single-minded focus, and legislators are worried about it because they might hear from me. My legislator might hear from me about a whole slew of issues, but if they hear from you every day about do not take my guns away, do not vote yes on this, they may listen to you more because they're more worried about your vote and they think they can get me on the other 4 issues that I care about too. The other thing is they have a lot of money from gun manufacturers, and they don't spend all that money all the time. Let's put aside the 2016 presidential election, but they threaten. They say, you know, Shira, if you step out of line, we're going to primary you from the right. And that's what they threaten. And so we have to make it a voting issue. We have to be willing to stand up. And here's the truth. If you send me to Washington, I'm going to fight every day. And if they primary me or if they come and attack me, I hope that my friends at the national groups and elsewise will come in. But you know what? I'm not that afraid of not getting reelected. I'm going to go and fight for the things I told you I was going to fight for. And hopefully you'll like it and I can come back. And if I get attacked for it, hopefully people will come together and we'll get to do it. But for me, this isn't a stepping stone or a rung on a ladder. It's a moment to keep fighting. and I'm willing to do that. And I'm less afraid of being voted out because I took the votes that the constituents elected me to take than of, you know, not having that job.
Thank you, Shira, very much.